Well, welcome in the Mississippi Live Weather 5. I'm Chief Meteorologist Matt Lawpon on this Wednesday, watching the clouds thickening up. The first rain chances of probably quite a few over the next week starting to kind of pop up out there. We'll look at Mama Justice Doppler radar, tracking those here in a couple of minutes. But this evening, again, one of the headlines is I think most of these are just going to stay primarily showers, not overly heavy. More storms, though, in the extended forecast in particular, and we're talking more about that here in a couple minutes. The pattern goes much more active, especially for locations to our west. I think we'll still have limited rain chances through your Thursday into this upcoming weekend as well, but this more active pattern, I think, eventually does lead to severe weather. We're probably looking next week with our more significant chances about a week out, but still between now and then we will have some isolated storms from time to time. Now this evening it's going to be very, very limited in the overall coverage. We're thinking 10% or so on that coverage of some showers and thunderstorms, 6 through probably midnight or so, maybe even some showers that linger after that, but I think most of it probably before that time period. 76 still at 6 p.m., 69 by 9, 66 as you look toward midnight, and then the low 60s by early morning Thursday. Again, way above our normal this time of year. Good evening to everybody, and we appreciate y'all for sounding off on social media this evening. As we go out and about and look at some of our cameras in Ackerman there, you can see just a little bit of vertical development on some of those showers. 81 degrees in Ackerman. Definitely a warm day this afternoon, kind of flirting with record high temperatures in some locations. West Point, we had a few of those showers a little heavier in western Clay County a minute ago, but we are left with just this kind of beautiful display. You can look right there toward, again, some of those sprinkles showing up there in the West Point area. 80 degrees right now in West Point. As we look out of our camera in Tupelo, brought to you by Mitchell, Cunningham, and Bowling. 77 degrees, the temperature there. That dew point coming in the low 60s. And those are actually some showers that we are tracking there, looking southward toward Chickasaw and Clay counties. As you'll note here on Mama Justice Doppler radar, these are not particularly large or strong or anything along those ratings, but certainly some moderate rainfall with that one as it moves over top of the Houston area, kind of lifting through Houston toward Parkersburg and up there in the direction of Holka. Probably staying a little east of Holka with the kind of the heaviest with what that is. If you look closely, there's a little boundary here that's kind of triggering a few of these showers off. And so I think we'll probably continue to have that next couple of hours. So we track probably that heavier one there. We're not going to say it's moving more than probably, about 20 miles per hour or so. So not a lot of folks in the path of this over the next little bit. We'll go about 512 there in Parkersburg, Van Vliet at 520, closer to Troy at 540 there, and after 6 o'clock hour Palmetto, meaning if it were to hold together, and we do expect in some form or fashion these probably hold together through Tupelo. It'll probably be later this evening before that is the case as it kind of moves northward once again. So as we clear this off on Mama Justice Doppler radar and we kind of slide on a wider shot here, some of those showers extend back closer to Chula and Yazoo City. And then even wider shot there. Again, a few of these back out closer to Louisiana. So just kind of a weak boundary here. Our focal point for some isolated storms continuing into the overnight hours. I say storms. There are no lightning strikes with these on Mama Justice Doppler radar. I'll get that lightning counter back on there. Yeah, I lied. There were 2 lightning strikes on this wide shot. So kind of speaking to how weak the storms are here into the south. But if you look out into Arkansas and back there, not just to Arkansas, but all these locations in green, we'll kind of stop it here on the final scan for a moment. These are all severe thunderstorm watches extending from Texas through Arkansas, Missouri, and into Illinois and the Ohio Valley there. Those in effect until 9 p.m. It's kind of been more close to this frontal boundary where storms are going to be the most likely into tonight. For most, obviously, stays back to the north and west. But our friends over there at the Arkansas Weather Network watching this closely back into northwest Arkansas. So you can check them out. That's Arkansas Weather Network on some of our partners here on Mississippi Live Weather. So our futurecast does get a few of these showers a little bit heavier as we head throughout this evening into the Delta. I think the positioning probably a little slow on this. It's probably the same storms we'll look at in Chickasaw County. So maybe getting just a little bit heavier next couple of hours here. But in general, that's only a couple of blips of red. We'll walk hour by hour through that here in a couple of minutes as we go toward around 10 p.m., 11 o'clock. All the main severe and active weather out here closer to this front back into Arkansas and into the Midwest. But notice that front itself doesn't really progress much toward us. That's why we'll have clouds continuing to can build in and this moist air continuing to settle in as well, bringing us, again, mostly cloudy skies through a good chunk of your Thursday there. So we're going to start off around 61 degrees. We'll be 67 by noon. Limited chances for a few showers there, maybe a rumble, but nothing like the severe weather chances. They're going to be very, very prevalent back to the west of us for the next couple of days as they are kind of really honing in on an early batch of severe weather that direction. When could our chances arrive? We're looking ahead at those threats. Coming up here in 60 seconds as Mississippi Live Weather continues here from the Room to Room Weather Center.
At First Choice Bank, we know you can't always make it before the bank closes. With our integrated teller, you can talk to a live person as late as 7 p.m. on weekdays and noon on Saturdays. It's not just an ATM, it's an ITM. First Choice Bank, your choice for banking.
Look at Wanda, ready to rock her big presentation. But first, lunch. Sweet Pepper's Deli. Delicious, celebratory, but is it quick? The Cobb salad. Tender oven roasted chicken, topped with cheese, plated and served in 6 minutes? Is this for real? Well, of course. Well done, Wanda. Sweet Pepper's Deli. Yes, ma'am. Life is sweet.
What I thought was a complete life was nowhere near complete. But it is now.
Learn about adopting a teen at adoptuskids.org.
Right now, from the Room to Room Weather Center, here's Mississippi's Chief Meteorologist, Matt Laubon.
Welcome back to Mississippi Live Weather. This is not an old graphic. This is a new graphic here looking for the severe weather risk. Not yesterday, but next Tuesday. Already a level 2 out of 5 risk put in place for locations back into Arkansas, back into Missouri. Many of the spots we were talking about a moment ago as a storm system next week going to roll toward us as we progress toward Wednesday, and that will bring probably some severe weather chances with it as well. Now, notice we do not depict a risk area on here as we look toward Wednesday of next week. We're still a little too far out. That'd be what behind the scenes when we're looking at this, we would say a day 8 severe weather risk. Those are excessively rare. We usually have to have a very high-end event before that is the case. But I think it's very possible that we could have a severe weather risk somewhere around our region. That was a poor example of where to draw it, but somewhere here, including possibly North Mississippi, as we go toward the middle of next week. So yes, today is Wednesday. We're looking 7 days out, and the severe weather threats probably peaking then. We will get a more detail on that with a very, very early look at some of our forecast projections coming up at 6 o'clock. This evening, though, it's just a couple isolated showers out there in Batesville. Again, look back toward the field there. 81, I mean, that's pretty warm, all things considered, even for the first part of March. We are in Macon here with that mix of cloud cover. If we've had some showers around, that's probably a little smoke plume there toward the horizon. 79 degrees in Macon as of the 5 o'clock hour. That dew point is not as high as some other locations in the upper 50s, as certainly it is going to continue to be more dry than wet for most spots in Greenwood, with that mix of cloud cover out there coming in 82 degrees at this hour as well. Mama Justice Doppler radar, it is kind of clustering of showers back here toward Yazoo City, continue to move toward the north and east. Again, these are moderate rainfall at most, and that may even be overselling it. As we showed you, though, before the break, Futurecast does have a few of these trying to blossom in overall intensity and coverage the next couple of hours. So hey, yeah, heads up there, Duck Hill, Winona, Grenada. There will be more showers, maybe even a rumble of thunder with that batch as it rolls toward you. Heaviest of really anything we have is out here west of Eupora right now, closer to Lodi and parts of Webster County. This, again, below severe limits, and that's probably, stating the obvious on that. We'll continue to move in that northeast speed on this in the neighborhood of around, we'll say, 20 miles per hour, and that might be overstating it a little bit. If that holds together, Calhoun City, we're about 608 for you. Bentley at 558 there. Slate Springs at 542, and Spring Hill Community around 528, 527 in Embry. This is moderate rainfall, and that's about it. We do have a couple other boundaries ahead. I'll put this back into motion so you can kind of see this for a moment here. A couple little areas there. See, watch that green line there. You have a couple of those green lines kind of extending northward. Those boundaries, just area where wind is coming together. Not impossible that perhaps we could get that to possibly try to enhance some of these just a little bit more. But even then, I think that this is just going to be moderate rainfall at most as it makes it toward Okolona and Shannon and Verona over the next hour or so, hour and a half. Let's track that again. We'll say 20 to 25 miles per hour, perhaps there. We'll say 25, just in case it picks up some speed. Give you at least a rough time for there, as we're generally in the Tupelo area somewhere a little after the 6 o'clock time period. This is kind of picking up. Haven Acres, that'd be on the southwest side of Tupelo. Palmetto, there we're about at 5:48. This is, again, no severe weather this on Mama Justice Doppler radar, just kind of some moderate rainfall at most. Our school day forecast for tomorrow, then, as we progress through that, again, brought to you by IMPC, maybe an isolated shower at drop-off. We're 62, we're 74 by lunch, and upper 70s to low 80s in the afternoon for peak temperature, so short sleeves and shorts. Certainly not a bad idea for tomorrow, especially considering how warm we'll start the first part of the day. Here's a look at Futurecast as we go through the next 24 here. There are the isolated showers, 5 o'clock or so. You can see not as many as what we have depicted in reality on Mama Justice Doppler a moment ago there. But notice how it does have the quantity of showers kind of increasing a little bit more, 5:30, 6 o'clock. Probably overdoing the intensity just a little bit. I think it does capture the fact that we'll have probably a few more out here, 7, 8, 8:30 into this evening. The heaviest that shows out there closer to Greenwood with kind of that batch expanding toward Grenada and up toward Water Valley. So positioning could be just a little bit off. This really probably could be a little farther east than what it indicates there. But big takeaway, solidly true. You'll notice as we go overnight, we don't have a lot of reds or anything else. So no severe weather out of this for our area. And honestly, probably not a whole lot of rumbles coming with this as well. So as we go here into your Thursday, notice we're going to start off around 64 Tunica, 63 degrees Senatobia, around 60 Bruce, Eupora, 61 degrees in Houston. Normal this time of year is 41, so we're 20 above that. It is just very warm, and this warm air that's feeding back into that storm system, back out on the plains, producing some severe weather that direction. In fact, as we show you your 9 a.m. forecast there on your Thursday, this storm system probably providing another day of active weather for locations back out into Arkansas and Oklahoma and up into the Midwest. For us, we're kind of ahead of all that. Compare for just a moment here the oranges and reds versus what is primarily yellows and greens in our zone. So again, the worst of this is west of us. And so you'll notice just some spotty showers, noontime into the afternoon, trying to pop up, maybe a rumble or two, but any significant or severe weather should primarily be back to the north and west. Not by a lot, as you can see out there toward Wynne, Arkansas some, and maybe a rumble there in Carroll County, south of Grenada, but that's probably the exception to the rule. So 79 the high in Oxford and Holly Springs, coming in 82 degrees though, Houston, Starkville, and Eupora around 82, 82 in Kosciuszko. And again, 81 is our record high, so we're just right there, similar to the way we have been for today as far as the temperatures have been concerned. So another pretty warm day on the way. So looking at the severe weather risk from this on your Thursday, no risk for our area. That is solidly back out to the west of us. And really it becomes late tomorrow night. That's more of a factor. For Friday, a level 3 out of 5 risk already in place for locations into Oklahoma, Kansas, Missouri, in the Midwest. It gets close, as you can see here, kind of close to the Mississippi Delta. But at this point, it looks like the focus for this system is still going to be west of us. And no official risk on Saturday yet, as the storm system probably doesn't have as much to work off of as it does the next couple of days. You can definitely see for tomorrow, back to the west of us, what's called a dry line, which is kind of a focal point between less humid and more humid air that adds lift. So an active forecast back that direction. For us, though, I think we're far enough ahead of that it is just cloud cover and we are dry for the most part into your Thursday evening, Thursday night with a couple of isolated showers, not an impossibility under mostly cloudy skies. So Friday morning, going to start off a little bit mild once again. And again, that's probably an understatement considering our normal is 41 and we're going to be 61 in Water Valley and Oxford, 60 in Bruce. That humid air still largely in place when the Y will continue to be so mild to start off your Friday. As we go through Friday, again, clouds coming up from the south here, a few sprinkles, not an impossibility, but they remain pretty limited in overall coverage, maybe a rumble or two there by midday Friday. As we change this over to our Futurecast, our strike model here, showing again some of the spotty showers and storms trying to pop up, but not a ton of activity. And again, for comparison purposes, this is going to be much more significant, we think, for locations back out onto the plains for Friday into the afternoon and evening versus where we're at. The reason for that, this front represents what we call lift, and it's the ingredient that we're missing. We have humid air somewhat in place, not super duper soupy humid air, but out in the west, they have that lift, that front moving in. And so with upper level winds more aimed that direction, more significant chance for some showers and thunderstorms there. Highs on our Friday expected to be upper 70s and lower 80s. And record on the books is 85, so we're not that far removed from it once again for Friday. As we look at that 7-day forecast here, we're 20% for Friday, but notice we're up to 70% for Saturday and 40% as we look towards Sunday, as rain showers and thunderstorms possible into this upcoming weekend. But at this point, the day that I'd say is most concerning, and I will bring our meteorologist Gabe Maynor in to talk briefly about this here in a moment, that's going to be as we look toward next week. I think, again, we'll have some rain chances for Monday, Tuesday, and eventually as we look toward Wednesday. I think Wednesday probably more the time period where kind of everything could end up aligning to have a greater chance for maybe some stronger thunderstorms. Still some time before that takes place. As we bring Gabe in here for a moment, early modeling, I think it's fairly safe to say we're going to have some stronger thunderstorms in the region. Maybe not directly over North Mississippi, but in the region. Is that a fair statement?
For the weekend or for next Wednesday?
For Wednesday of next week.
Yes. Yeah, I would say that that's kind of our focal point when we're talking severe weather. Still some questions that we need to iron out as we approach that, but I mean, we're still 8 days out. Like you said, if we get a risk area 8 days out, that's saying something about the potency of the system. So if you want any reassurance, I guess
typically
there's
only
that.
High-end events have that kind of risk that far out.
Yeah, so hopefully no risk comes, but of course that's kind of the day we're tracking in regards to that potential severe weather threat.
Okay, let's talk more about this weekend forecast. I left it out initially here. I'm going to put it back in here for a moment now that we've kind of gotten through the 7-day. Let's look at, in particular, the weekend forecast. And I'll pull this up, and I'll probably bring this over to our big little box for a moment. Just give me just a second to bring that here. Okay, so Gabe, when we're looking at this, I'm going to kind of plop in here. This would be our Saturday forecast. We looked at this yesterday. And one of the things that, just kind of looking at this, I have this line coming in. I don't really see anything outside of maybe, line segment Boeing sort of segments. Is that a fair statement?
Yeah, but even then, I'm just seeing, sub-severe, maybe once it gets into Alabama. But look at the time, like 1:30, that's where you have some more of that unstable air. But that's where you get some of these darker reds showing up, meaning it's going to be heavier rainfall, potentially some higher storm tops. But even then, not impressed with the upper level wind. And that's where I would say a lot of this remains sub-severe, if not all of it. Still could be impactful, but in regards to seeing those severe thunderstorm warnings, I don't know if we fully reach that realm as we get into Saturday, maybe further south.
So the thing looking at this that I noticed, and we talked a little bit about this last night, is kind of the angle, right?
Yes.
How it's kind of east-west. You typically want kind of maybe more of a north-south front in this situation. That's just not what we really have.
No, and that's what the folks at the Storm Prediction Center are also noting is just the positioning of it. It's not overly concerning. I don't think it's impossible to maybe get some of those stronger cells maybe down south into Hattiesburg and Jackson, but
I'd agree.
I don't know if I'm sold on North Mississippi just yet. That being said, thunderstorms, you're going to get rumbles of thunder. I also think that something to pay attention to could be that flash flood threat because of that heavy initial rainfall, and then you're getting more of that moderate rainfall on the back end. So that's going to be an extended period of time that you're getting 2, 3, potentially 4 inches of rainfall if it lines up in the right area for the right amount of time.
I completely agree there. We'll bring up that flash flood product here for a moment. Let's see, hydrology, and we'll look at kind of let's go 1 through 5 day QPF. And this kind of shows where the rainfall, how much rainfall could be talking about. And I mean, these are not some small amounts out into the plains, and this tends to underdo it a little bit. But I mean, with our yellows here, 2 or more inches of rainfall, most of that would probably come as that front moves in. Possible that if it, slows down even a little bit more, that could be a bigger problem.
For sure. And so that's what I would say is the top of our concerns getting into Saturday and Sunday. And of course, that forecast, not exactly take me out to the ball game type weather for any of those State and Ole Miss games that are happening. So that's the unfortunate part about it. But I think that, again, when we're looking at severe weather and impactful storms, probably not till midweek next week when we get that into North Mississippi.
So you can see, again, some of that rainfall there. While it shows Friday, Saturday, that has more to do with the overnight from the early Friday and then in the Saturday, how that kind of accumulates over that time. Looking into next week there at the kind of extended, you can see again, in some days, just, single day rainfall amounts, much more heavy out to the west. Tuesday, we're still transitioning, and if this specific product doesn't go all the way out to Wednesday of next week. So definitely going to be watching things very, very closely for then. And one of the things we'll be talking about coming up at 6 o'clock will be the heavier rainfall through the extended, but also the timing related to some of the weekend storm chances. We'll break out our triple threat, an exclusive here to Mississippi Live Weather coming up at 6 o'clock, trying to assess, again, the threat for hail, threat for wind, threat for tornadoes with this impending storm system as it gets a little bit closer. But I think it's really the one beyond that next week, and we will look at some very early modeling on how that could play out. That's coming up on Mississippi Live Weather at 6. We hope you'll join us. And again, I appreciate everybody for getting in with us on the chat line there. All of the folks that are in and talking on our online discussion there. Appreciate everybody for your support, Brenda, Deb, and Denise there, and everyone for watching. Hey, let your friends know that you support us here at Mississippi Live Weather. Also, let our sponsors know, whether it's Northeast Mississippi Community College, Phoenix Building Solutions, Room to Room, Mama Justice. If you let them know that you support what we're doing here, then they'll continue to support us, and we can continue providing this free. But I see Brenda mentioning supposed to be April showers, May flowers. You know what? March and April typically are our biggest months, so no shock that we're heading through that. We'll have another update again on this, in particular looking at the extended, looking at our exclusive triple threat as well, coming up during our 6 o'clock broadcast. So appreciate you, Astra, and everyone for sponsoring us and watching us here on Mississippi Live Weather. We'll see you at 6.
Growing up, Gabe was naturally curious when he began to discover weather. Gabe just didn't want to know what was happening, but he wanted to know why it was happening. Gabe became fascinated with tornadoes, and it impacted his life. He wanted to pursue a career in meteorology. Even though Gabe grew up in Alabama, Mississippi has now become his home and his family. And one thing about Gabe is he keeps his family safe.